Hey guys, what is going on? Cameron12 here. Today's the day where SHADOWSCYTHE General class becomes available to non-members. Now, if you're wondering on how to obtain this class, you can either purchase it here for 2000 AC, and there's this other method where you can complete this daily quest here, which rewards you with 2 shadow shields a day if you're a non-member. But if you're a member, you can complete this member version over here, and you get 4 shadow shields instead of 2. Let's take a look at how many you need in total for the class. So 100 shadow shields for the class, 15 for the weapon, 30 for the armor, 20, 20, 10. So if you were to farm the full set, it'd probably take you a couple months. But just the class itself, I think it'll take you around a month, more or less, roughly a month to get 100 shadow shields. And as for the non-member quest, it only takes 1 broken blade at /join light guard war to obtain these 2, so it shouldn't take you more than a minute, as long as the drop rate is pretty high. But the quest itself is quite easy. And I think it's the same thing for the member one. Let me see. Oops. Class. Yeah, one broken blade here too. So yeah, easy quest, shouldn't take you long at all. Alright, so when it comes to the enhancements, I recommend full luck since it works best with the class. I tried full hybrid, I tried 2 luck, 2 hybrid. I think it was 3 luck, 1 hybrid, and hybrid just did not work for this class. It just simply lowered the damage. But when it comes to full luck enhancements, it works best with it, especially with an unstable range weapon. I don't know why it says 2 to 48, but this is like an unstable range weapon. Let me see something else. Yeah, so 22 to 28 is approximately the range for stable, and then when it comes to unstable, 2 to 48. I don't know if they're going to change this later on, but for the time being, that's what it shows. But anyways, on to the first ability. So the first ability is actually an auto attack, which deals damage on hit and grants a stack of consuming shadows, which debuffs your damage resistance by 4% and increases the damage done on all your skills by 20 seconds. Also, this stacks to 20. So up to 20 stacks every time you auto attack the target, your damage actually increases. So over time, as long as you don't use your 5th ability, which I'll explain later, your damage is actually going to be going up. Also, this ability applies overwhelming shadows to your target, which reduces their haste and damage by 15% for 2 seconds. For the second ability, called Shadow Blast, it has an 8-second cooldown, and it deals damage up to 6 targets and has a 50% chance to stun them for 1 second. So you can literally stun up to 6 targets for 1 second, which is actually pretty cool, and something I haven't seen in any classes lately. But it also applies 3 stacks of consuming shadows per target hit. You also gain a rush of unlife, which increases your haste by 40% for 8 seconds. Now 40% is quite a bit, so this will actually result in the target missing or you dodging the target's attacks, similar to like rogue or ninja or any class that has a high chance of haste. The third ability is called Bone Picker and has a 6-second cooldown. So this ability deals damage up to 6 targets and it applies 1 stack of consuming shadows. Now if it's 1 target, it applies 1 stack of consuming shadows. Let's say you're dealing with 3 targets. Gives you 3 stacks of consuming shadows, and I believe 3 stacks of undead assembly. 3 stacks of undead assembly as well. And this actually increases your damage done and healing done by 10%. So on top of the 20, let's say for example you have 20 stacks collected up in your first ability, using your third ability will increase your damage, and also when you use your 4th ability right after your 3rd ability, your heal over time is actually going up as well. It'll be a lot more higher, but you can't really see it since AE actually removed it recently. I don't know why they removed it, but yeah, you can't really see the damage over time or any heal over time anymore, which I think is pretty stupid. I feel like it should come back. And yeah, Undead Assembly lasts 15 seconds and stacks to 4. The 4th ability for this class is called Undead Rebirth and has a 10-second cooldown. What this ability does is that it applies a heal over time onto yourself for 4 seconds, and it also prevents 6 targets from healing up to 4 seconds. Also applies a shadow seal on your enemies, which blocks them from applying the following auras. One of them is called Illuminated, Lumen, Light Wave, Soul Drinking, Abolish, Righteous Seal, Blinding Light, and Shadow Seal lasts for 10 seconds. Also, just a quick tip, using your 3rd ability and then your 4th ability will actually increase your heal over time, as opposed to just using your 4th ability. The 5th ability on this class is called Shadow Void and has a 12-second cooldown. This ability deals massive damage to your primary target and less damage to 5 surrounding targets. So if you were to 6k your primary target, the other 5 targets, you would hit them for around 4 to 5,000. Also, the damage of your 5th ability is increased based on how many consuming shadows you have. So if you were to have your consuming shadows stacks maxed out at 20, you would deal a much more higher amount of damage. So I'm just gonna go ahead, max it out. Boom, 6.2k, not bad. Also, the 5th ability always hits and can't miss. Also applies crippling fear to all enemies hit, decreasing their dodge and hit chance by 30% for 3 seconds. Now there's a couple things I actually noticed with this class, which I'd like to go over. And number one is this class doesn't use any mana. Now I'm not sure if we've seen this kind of a thing in Adventure Quest Worlds before, but if I'm not mistaken, this is the first class that doesn't use any mana, which is really interesting concept. The second thing that I noticed with this class is the range actually. So if I go ahead here, I'll show you. Now look how far I'm standing from the target. I hit my first ability and he just right away attacks. Now that's different because other classes you would have to stand like this close to the target. But this one, let's see how far we can stand. No, it's too far. Even with that kind of a distance, I actually find that quite funny, but even with that kind of a distance, we actually managed to hit him. I don't think this is going to be changed. I think this is how it is. After a week of testing, I don't think they'll change a lot of the stats or the details of the class. And the third thing that I noticed with this class is the combo and how easy it is. Pretty much for the combo, all you do is you stack your 2nd and 3rd ability. When your HP starts to go down, you use your 4th ability to get that heal over time. And all you do is just you stack your consuming shadows and your undead assembly, so that over time that you can get a lot stronger. But the thing is, if you have your consuming shadow stack maxed to 20 and you use your 5th ability, you actually lose those stacks, making you a lot weaker. So now your auto attacks are not going to be as high. But if you're stacking the consuming shadows, then your auto attack damage is going to be much more higher. And I'll just show you here real quick. 15, okay, we're at 20. So now our damage is going to be a lot more higher. Yeah, 1.2k, 1.2k, another 1.2k. And then we're going to use our nuke here, and we're going to lose those consuming shadow stacks, and now we're back to regular base damage. Now to increase your heal over time, you actually use your 3rd ability first and then the 4th ability. Now this gives you a higher heal over time than just initially using your 4th ability. But yeah, when it comes to the combo, simply use your 2nd and 3rd ability, stack the consuming shadows in the undead assembly, and then when you hit 20 stacks for consuming shadows, you can either go ahead and you press your 5th ability and use the nuke, or you can just not use the nuke and just keep your damage at its maximum point. But in my opinion, I definitely use the 5th ability and nuke rather than just collecting those stacks and keeping them. Even with your undead assembly being at 4 stacks and your consuming shadows being at 20, you just do a lot more damage when it comes to using that nuke. Now in PvP, it would be really smart to use your 5th ability whenever it's up. But when it comes to farming, I actually don't think I'd be using that 5th ability. I'd just be using my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th ability since it hits up to 6 targets. And then you'll be able to clear rooms a lot more faster. But using your 5th ability will actually remove your consuming stacks, which will make you deal a lot less damage to the targets around you, when you're farming at least. And when it comes to soloing, this class is decent. It's not the fastest, of course, but it does get the job done. And especially with the heal over time, it makes it difficult for targets to take you down. But in general, I actually really like this class. Has a different concept and idea to it as opposed to other classes. When it comes to supporting with ShadowScythe general class, I wouldn't recommend it to be your #1 option, since the debuff that this class has affects the target and not the allies that you're versing the boss with. So for example, your 1st ability here reduces their haste and damage by 15% for 2 seconds. Your 5th ability decreases the target's dodge and hit chance by 30% for 3 seconds. Those are great debuffs, but the thing is that they don't make it that much quicker to kill bosses, as opposed to classes like Stonecrusher class or Lightcaster class where it actually buffs your allies as opposed to debuffing the target. Buffing your allies, I'd say, is a lot more important than debuffing the target, since that is what makes it a lot more easier to take down high HP bosses. I mean, it's great that you can reduce your target's dodge and hit chance by 30%. But in the end of the day, you would choose ally buffs over target debuffs. Target debuffs are good for PvP, and when it comes to hard hitting bosses like Drak, it's a lot more better to use ally buffs as opposed to target debuffs. But in general, I like this class. It's a lot more different than the other ones we've seen lately, and it's definitely a class I would recommend picking up since it's the 10th anniversary class. And like I said earlier, you can either purchase this class for 2k AC, or you can farm it for 100 tokens, which will take you roughly 1 month. If you learned something new about SHADOWSCYTHE general class after watching this video, be sure to hit that like button, and if you want to see future videos, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.